Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News.
Our next guest is a publisher of a popular news website, Sahara Reporters. However, he has decided to put his days of journalism behind him by throwing his heart into Nigeria's political ring. As he gears up to run for the office of the president in Nigeria's forthcoming elections, many are wondering if he'll bring back his fiery brand of political activism, stretching all the way from his days as a student of the University of Lagos. Here to discuss his presidential bid in the 2019 general election, his plans for Nigeria, and how he has handled the string of controversies that have trailed his news platform, Sahara Reporters, is Omoyele Sowore. Sowore, welcome to the morning show.
Thank you for bringing me.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, well,
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Quite a long jump. I mean, you built a reputation as an activist, both as a student union leader and as, the founder of Sahara Reporters.
Yes.
Now you want to be president.
That's correct.
Some people are saying it would have been better if you stayed as an activist. Why do you want to be president?
Well, you can stay as an activist if you decide to limit how far you want things to change. But you can decide to be president if you want to take activism to the office of the president. And we've seen that happen both in South Africa and also in the US, where Obama was a community activist, organizer, I think a level that is lower than mine, as at the time he came out, even though he had a degree in law and had been well known, but he hadn't done as much as I had done, spanning 29 years when he became the president of the US. I'm talking about Obama now. So we've seen that all over the world where activists take a step higher or further, to become president of their country because they are no longer satisfied with just being activists, which is, you go to a protest and after you shouted and you are detained or tear gas, you go back home and things remain the same. But you can make a decision to change things completely forever by going to that office where you can influence everything that needs to be influenced and make the changes that you need in a country that is very desirous of the kind of revolutionary change that we need as we do today in Nigeria.
Well, some people are saying, now that you have become a politician, that the integrity of your news platform, Sahara Reporters, could be compromised because anything you write, they will say, oh, you are partisan, you are politically biased. You were considered independent before. Don't you think you've eroded that independence?
I've never been considered independent. And you know this, you used to be a spokesperson to the president. Sahara Reporters has always been considered to be in some form partisan, but the partisanship is usually coming from the way we take the system on. And I think the partisanship has been on the side of the truth all the time. And the independence of Sahara Reporters is going to remain the same way as it used to be. But I know that for political expediency, a lot of people will accuse Sahara Reporters of all kinds. So like it's always been accused of for the last 12 years that it has existed. So I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about how we take Nigeria to the next level that can guarantee prosperity, progress, and peace and development.
Okay, you want to take Nigeria to the next level,
That's
correct?
Right.
Okay.
A level that's never existed before. Because if you say next level, honestly, have we ever been at a level that we can consider a level?
Right.
But your slogan is that you are leading a Take Back Nigeria movement.
Take it back.
Where are you taking Nigeria back from? And where are you taking it to?
Yeah, we're taking Nigeria back from the people who have failed Nigeria over the last 58 years. We want to take Nigeria back from the doldrum and the oblivion into which it has been taken and taking it to a level that has never been to before. But you have to recoup it first. If something has been stolen from you and you want to take it, you take it back first and then you fix it and it returns to you completely. Taking it to the level that we've never seen before is what I've discussed, a level where we can start to have security in this country, electricity, infrastructure, have an education that is worth talking about, that is not dishing out ignorance, but knowledge, hospitals that can give you health and not sickness, and the roads that are not killing people, a country that can provide employment for a steaming young population, a country that works for everybody, and most importantly, a Nigeria that is working for Africa, that is not a disgrace to the continent of Africa.
Okay. Share with us some of your blueprint strategy in making this happen to jumpstart our economy.
Yes.
First, with our GDP growth going down and all of...
Exactly. You cannot have an economy in the first place without having electricity. And what we have decided to have a program of action in 10 places. We call it Spicer Hit. One is security. And you and I don't need to be told that, without security, you can't have foreign investment, you can't have local investment. People can't go to sleep, they can't feel safe, they can't go to work and give their best. Second is power, electricity. Without electricity, that's the basic, you know. Without electricity, you can't jumpstart anything, you can't manufacture, you can't sleep. Your children can't even do homework at night. So it affects everything. Infrastructure, without it as well, where people are connected, where goods can move from farm to the market, you can't have an economy. And of course, we have a problem of corruption in this country, and we'll fight it, but the way we are fighting is not the way I would fight it.
How do you intend to tackle corruption?
Well, we have to prevent people from stealing, first and foremost. You don't make your resources available to be stolen, and then you start running after people who have stolen it, who already have connections with lawyers and judges, and think you are going to make any headway. Even in the US, where I've lived for 19 years, they are more interested in preventing corruption as against recouping money, because it costs them even the legal cost of recovering $1 million sometimes can be as much as 500,000, even more. That is why in fighting corruption in those places, they use it as a deterrent, as opposed to using it as propaganda. And then you have an economy, like I mentioned, that is not working, because the economy of Nigeria is designed by non-Nigerians and designed to work for non-Nigerians. That's why our best economies are always imported from the World Bank or the IMF. And we look at Nigeria, you talk about our economy, the way we describe it is look at foreign reserve. You cannot find any country in the world that is serious that talks about the economy from the angle of foreign reserve. Ask yourself, where is the foreign reserve of the US? It's based in the US. Where is the foreign reserve of the UK? It's based in the UK, but the foreign reserve of Nigeria is based at the Bank of England and Chase and all of those other banks. And what do they do with your foreign reserve? They invest them in building infrastructure in other places, whereas you are here boasting, you know, with PowerPoint presentation about how well your economy is doing with foreign foreign reserve. They are talking about how they can borrow from other places to build their own countries in terms of infrastructure, education, and these days technology. So the other thing we want to do is restructuring. And people have asked me that question a lot. What's your position on restructuring? My position is not dictated and determined by the people who are making noise about restructuring. And we do respect that I'm not being disrespectful to people who are discussing it. But what I'm saying is that when we are discussing restructuring for Nigeria, I don't want an 80-year-old man to be the person speaking for me. Because they are already at the departure lounge of life. And they are the ones who failed this country in the first place. I don't want to mention names here. They should allow the young people of this country to restructure Nigeria for their own future. And I belong in that generation. I have been around for 29 years. I know most of the proponents of restructuring in the country today. They are not interested in restructuring Nigeria. They are interested in dividing up whatever is left of Nigeria, sharing amongst themselves, and making some available for their own generations that are yet unborn. So for us to restructure Nigeria, we have to be in position of authority and power to make those decisions, because as I'm sitting here today, if they call a restructuring meeting in Abuja tomorrow, they wouldn't even let me into the place. And there are 70% of Nigerians that are in my position who are not invited to those important decision-making meetings. So that's where we are. Then we go from there, we talk about health, education, agriculture, tourism. We call these things spicer heat. And all of them are equally important, but we will start, of course, with security, because we have to secure this country. This country is one of the most insecure countries in the world. There are countries that are at war today where not many people get killed as they do in Nigeria. And Nigeria is said to be, you know, supposedly at peace.
I read the review of your campaign strategy. Yeah. Actually, the guy was comparing you, Fela Durotoye, and some other young presidential aspirants. Yes. And he was saying, look, you say the right things, you know, but you are not talking to the right people. That usually, you know, your campaign is targeted at students, young people, and that many of those, you know, they just hail as if it's a students' union meeting. Do you think it's a fair criticism of your strategy?
It's not fair, but you understand that people are entitled to their opinion. If I'm running for office to become president of Nigeria, the first people I will go to will be 70% of the population whose future is at stake, who don't have employment, who don't have anything to show for being citizens in this country, the ones that have been disenfranchised, left behind, left in the cold, They are the ones we need to, clothe. They are the ones we need to provide jobs for. They are the ones we need to provide health for. Some of them have never seen anything good in their lifetime. I mean, I knew you in 1992, 93. And that's how many years ago? Those guys who were born between 92, when the military annulled the election in 93, and now haven't even seen any form of life that is comparable to what their colleagues are experiencing in Ghana or Togo or Benin Republic in some instances. So we have to go to those people first. And when we go to them, we have to talk to them, and they have to react the way they want to react. So who are the rest of the people? The 1% of the private jet owners who will run out of Nigeria as soon as there's a little noise on the street. I'm not interested in those ones as much as those who are 70% of our population who have been left in the cold, who have been left in the lodge. So that's where we go, and that's where I've always been. That's my constituency. That's the territory that we need to be to make this country work. So when people say that, you're talking to people who are like student union, what is wrong with being students? Was it not on the back of students that we recovered our democracy that we have today? So why do we disparage young people simply because they don't talk the way we think they should be talking? It's the same kind of elitism that brought us to the way we are now. That general disrespect for young people simply because they are young and they behave differently from the way we expect them to behave. There's nothing wrong with being young. Young people are the ones doing great things in this country. Young people are the ones behind the movie industry. They are the ones behind the music industry. The only two things that is making Nigeria popular around the world today are anchored by young people, in the entertainment industry. So what is wrong with being young? What is wrong with being creative? What's wrong with being innovative? What's wrong with chanting, if you have been oppressed? What's wrong with protesting? Because, every country in the world has experienced some kind of freedom, relied on young people to free them. So it's not only unfair to say that, but I think it's also discriminatory. And, it's somehow very painful to hear people who are educated and enlightened just disparage young people the way they do.
Well, I mean, the nature of politics in Nigeria. It's expensive. You need money.
That's right.
And as publisher of Sahara Reporters, you practically quarrel with every big man in Nigeria.
That's correct.
So who are your godfathers? Who are your backers?
I don't have godfathers, and I came.
You want to be president without a godfather?
Absolutely.
Without backers?
No, we have backers, but not godfathers.
Okay.
I want to be president to come and retire the godfathers in this country. It's time for the godfathers.
You think they will allow you?
Well, they don't have to allow us. We have to disallow them. So what are we doing? We're raising money publicly. We are crowdfunding. We are on GoFundMe, and you can contribute to our campaign whatever you want. And we also have an account in Nigeria. People are donating to it. But what is most important is also to look at what is currency today. And when people want freedom, their currency will be different from paper money. And that's where we stand. And we're seeing a lot of that with little money, little support, we're getting far ahead of those who are spending billions so far. I have been to 28 states in Nigeria so far. And in those places, some places I had to take Okada, boats, But the reception is amazing, In places as far as Benin-Kebbi, Agungu, they're all looking to climb out of poverty. They are tired and sick of these very sick and tired leaders who are running the country. So the godfathers are all afraid. They're on their back heels, and they're worried that, there's a new sheriff in town who is campaigning differently, who is doing retail politics, and who is reaching out to people with no money. I don't have a private jet, but I've been able to reach far more places. You probably get one as president of Nigeria. Well, I will have 9, but I will sell 8 of them.
Okay.
Yes.
You have a very controversial online news agency.
That's correct.
You're currently being sued 10 billion naira,
Yeah.
correct? How do you think Nigerians will trust you if you're just going against the odds all the time?
If you're a newspaper reporter and you don't get sued, you are not doing your job. That's the truth. And I've been sued 4 times in the U.S., and I won all the cases because they couldn't reach the judges in the U.S. And one of the last person to sue me was Muslim Obanikoro. He presented his case before a judge, and we presented our case before a judge in New York. The judge threw out the case. But here, justice is sometimes for sale, and that's what they are relying upon, but that will not last forever. You know, I'm not new to those kind of controversies. I've been done Sahara reporters for 12 years. You know, they've done all kinds of things to me. I've been arrested, attacked, and I'm sure more will come, you know. But there's no journalist worth his salt who will be out there afraid of a libel lawsuit, you know. I mean, that's what you do to journalists when they say things you don't like. You go to court and sue them. And we'll prove that in court.
But isn't there also something about your style of activism? For example, recently there was something trending on social media. You attended an event in the US, and then a certain minister from Nigeria supposedly came late, and then you took over the event and started saying this is unacceptable. A minister cannot come late to an event. If you do this in Nigeria, don't come and do it here. Who is this particular minister, and what was the event about?
Well, this was actually 2012.
Oh, okay, not now.
It wasn't
okay.
now. But so many of these things are trending now because I'm running.
Yes.
And most people have never seen some of these clips of my activism before. It was a minister of State for Foreign Affairs. I think it was Omoyele.
Okay.
And it was during the occupied Nigeria.
Yes.
And a guy had just been shot and killed on the streets of Lagos for protesting peacefully. Quite a few people, actually. And she then came to have a town hall meeting in New York. And while we were waiting for her, word came that she was coming late to the meeting because she was changing her room upstairs in the same hotel. She complained to the hotel that her room was too small. So they were moving her to a bigger suite. And we were there waiting for hours. And then when she eventually came, no apologies. But that wasn't the reason why we shut down the town hall meeting. That was just one of the reasons we shut it. We were there to shut it down because we didn't want them to come and insult us, having killed peaceful protesters in Nigeria. So, but those are one of the lines of or strings of protests that I've embarked upon. You also remember during Yar'Adua's time, late former minister Ojoma Adueke came to the U.S. and he was telling us at the United Nations that Nigeria don't need a president that is physically present in Nigeria. I had to also shut him down. So I've done several of those kind of meetings to the point that at the point, no Nigerian officials like to come to New York because they knew I would be there to fight them. I used to also lead a group of young people in the U.S. to fight against governors who will leave Nigeria on Independence Day to go and celebrate it in New York. So on several occasions, we had to go there and shut down those meetings because we said, this is not U.S. independence, this is Nigeria's independence. You stay at home and do independence. Don't bring your aides and and cultural followers to New York to come and waste funds. At a point, 7 governors were in New York for Nigeria's Independence Day. But when it got to a point where we had to shut it down finally, they stopped coming. So those are one of the things that I used to do. My activism never stopped. Newspaper reporting or web news reporting never stopped me as an activist. And I still do it today. You know, even when I was in Abuja, a few weeks ago, and the executive secretary of NHIS was playing with his phone at a public event. I had to call him to order. You cannot be executive secretary at a head seminar that has future president of Nigeria, or likely future president of Nigeria discussing. He had his cell phone earpiece, AirPod, inserted in one ear, and he was fiddling with his phone in public. So when it comes to taking on the system, I don't shy away from it. And I will continue even as president when I win next year.
You are Ijo from Ondo State.
That's correct.
We just had an Ijo president. Do you think the way politics, the way it goes in Nigeria, that Nigerians will be ready to vote for another Ijo president?
No, you know, this whole zoning argument is lazy man's, approach to politics.
But isn't that where we are in Nigeria today?
We are not there. You know, this is where they took us. And we have a duty to move away from any of those things that have kept us down and in the dark. We see the Ijo president of Nigeria is not Nigeria's president. It just happened to be an Ijo man who was imposed on Nigeria by people who has been zoning Nigeria to themselves. But the interesting thing is that young people out there are not asking me, the size of the tribal mark on my face. They are asking me my character, my competence, and what I'm willing to do for Nigeria when I become president. I like the fact that we've reached that point where people are discussing real issues and are not discussing your ethnicity or your religion or how tall you are or how old, you know. And of course, we are discussing how old we are now because old people are the ones who run Nigeria aground. So, and of course, when we've had old people, we find out that we're spending more money keeping them in hospital than keeping them in office. So that old person's argument is also very important. You know, the argument about competence, I think, is the overriding factor now. So until today, I don't discuss where I come from. In fact, most people don't know where I come from. Some people said, you know, Sowore is Ijebu. The Minister of Communications said I'm from Ife when I had an argument with him in a radio station.
That.
Yes. So they don't know where I come from because I've never presented myself to anybody as an ethnic champion. And I don't want to be an ethnic champion. I want to be a human being who has respect for people based on their citizenship and their dignity, not where they come from, you know, not where they face when they pray. Yes.
I recall that your, should I say, quarrel or controversy with the Minister of Communications. He was saying in that interview, if I recall, that you shouldn't be talking about the becoming president. I should go and start at the level of local government chairman.
Yes.
And some people also express such sentiments,
yes,
that young people should go and learn and acquire some experience before they say they want to run Nigeria.
and a lot of politicians.
When you
say
talk
that.
about experience, what is experience? After 29 years as an activist, you know,
But it's not the same thing as running a government.
No, who is running the government here? These are people who are doing trial and error. With all their experience, where has Nigeria been? We've had two former presidents become president, you know, again, Obasanjo and now Buhari. Ask yourself, where did they take you with that experience? They took Nigeria from a country that used to be terrible to become a country that is the worst almost in the world. So that kind of experience is not the experience that we need, because that is not experience. It's just old age masked as experience, or, you know, bureaucrats who have been around for a long time who claim that being a bureaucrat qualifies you to be an experienced person. Sometimes, you know, experience is about what you've seen in life, it's about what you've done, it's about what you are capable of doing based on your history and pedigree. These guys have none of that. I have that. The democracy that we're enjoying today in this country, I worked with several other people, young people, to fight for it. The media, you know, that we're talking about today, I have experience in it. I've been an entrepreneur as well, even though I don't like to put that out there, you know. I have fought for this country. I have 29 years of consistency fighting for what is right. What better experience is that? The other experience the other people have is stealing, assassination, and killing people.
Okay, what do you intend to do differently? How do you turn around the economy? What are the things you will change?
Yeah.
So I come from not only a tradition of understanding what makes things work, but I've actually worked and been exposed to how things work in several other places. And as I mentioned earlier, the economy of Nigeria would not work until we have the capability to run Nigeria the way other places are run. For example, electricity. And when you're talking about electricity, you cannot just be relying on gas, because that's coming from one place that is troubled. We've got sunshine these days, solar, and nobody's talking about it. You know, and we can generate easily 4,500 megawatts of electricity within 2 years. The same way Morocco is doing. I think it was Angela Merkel, the German Chancellor, you know, or as President Buhari would like to describe her, the president of Western Germany, who came here and was talking about solar energy.
Yeah.
Right? The same way I've been talking about it, because why? Morocco is going to be selling solar to France and I think Malta. We're in the same area, you know, we're in the same region of the world where you get almost free sunshine. And nobody's talking about it here. Even with our gas pipeline, there are over 9.5 billion cubic feet of gas still in Ogoni land. But if you don't clean up Ogoni land, you can't go there and ask for gas. Okay. Right? So you have to restore peace and justice to the Niger Delta region. This is where I come from. And there are several other ways and means of generating electricity. We'll do that differently. And if you have electricity 24/7 in Nigeria, the economy will grow from whatever it is today to a percentage that the economy should be struggling to describe how it came to that. Because why? Nigerians are innovative people. And most of them are already moved on from looking for government jobs to setting up their own little ways of doing business in such a way that if we can only give them a jump start with electricity, you will be surprised at what will happen. You know, unlike your former guest here, I'm not going to build a mall somewhere that you can't find electricity to run it, and you can't find a road to run to the place, and then you build the mall 10 years after, there's no one single bodega there. I would have invested that money in electricity, I would have invested it in road infrastructure. Build road first before you buy a nice car.
Okay, take us down your first 100 days in office if you become 100.
When we talk about 100 days, we are repeating the same cliches of people who are ineffective.
Okay.
Why do you have to wait for 100 days before you start working?
We
start working from the first day we reach office. That's what we are elected to do. Nobody's waiting for 10 days. You know, 10 days in the life for people who are sick will mean a lot of people will die. We'll hit the ground running. Okay, and I've described to you that every project that I will describe to you, for example, we need to set up our cabinet effects in not 6 months. That was why the Nigerian economy went into...
the cabinet.
This current cabinet, all of them are leaving as soon as we come into office. Nobody will be left.
Sure. You were a member of a group called the Presidential Aspirants Coming Together.
I wasn't. I was never part of it.
Well, your name was mentioned. It was said you were one of...
I attended one meeting of the group.
But your name was on the list of persons considered as consensus candidate, and Fela Durotoye won.
It couldn't have happened. You know, let's get it right. I pulled out after the first meeting. So my name couldn't have been part of people. This is part of the lies they told just to buff up whatever the decision they took. I was never part of PACT. I told them, and Okpe Fashua wrote exactly what happened, you know, in Premium Times about what exactly happened.
It was on this program too, yesterday.
When I got there, I said I am not going to be part of any coalition. I came here to talk to you guys to see if we can present a unified front. So there was nothing beyond that first meeting. They had several other meetings. They invited me again. I said I'm not part of it. I never even signed the release that they had on that first day. So they listed my name as one of the attendees, and maybe they kept putting my name out there, but I never participated in PACT. So whatever came out of PACT, I had no hand in it, I had no interest in it, and I made it very clear. I actually issued an advisory through Take It Back movement, saying this is our position on PACT. So it's not true that I was part of PACT.
Well, what structures do you have on the ground to realize this your ambition? I mean, you are running on the platform of a party that is relatively...
Very new, yes.
Yeah, yes.
Because we have to start on a clean slate.
So what structures do you have?
Parties, we already have structures. Before you could be registered as a party in Nigeria, you have to have structures in at least 24 to 26 states of the Federation. That is taken care of. And since we registered, which is about, I mean, since we were announced as a party, which is about, I think about 3-4 weeks ago, we have expanded so rapidly that is unbelievable. We are in all the states of the Federation as we speak, and we are expanding to local governments and also to ward levels across the country. And we are planning to participate, for example, in Ondo State in the local government elections.
Well, I mean, but
that means structure.
Well, I asked that question because it comes across like a one-man party.
No, it's not.
You are the only one, you know, everybody gets to hear about us. You know, the founder of the party, the presidential aspirant, and all of that.
They used to say that Sahara Reporters was a one-man media company, but it wasn't. It was a media movement. So it happens that when you have such parties, there will be an arrowhead, of course, and most people like to focus on me than focus on the party, which is good for the party because it then allows the party to work unhindered underground. So I'm not the arrowhead, I'm the moving target.
Well, if you go into the election and perchance you don't win, what will you do thereafter?
If we don't win this election, it will be that we didn't want to win it because this is the best time in Nigeria to defeat the old guards. But if it happens that we don't win, we have done something that has never been done before, which is to disrupt the political space in such a way that it will expand the democratic space for people who otherwise never even consider themselves worthy to participate within our political process. And you know, more and more of these people will be emboldened. But I don't see how we lose this because, you know, as you see, the old political guys are in disarray. That is not to say that they will not unite because they are after the national cake. So, but we are moving so fast and galvanizing support that I believe that people will get to a point where they'll say, push will come to shove.
Well, let me ask you a personal question.
Go ahead.
When I was in government and I was presidential spokesman, you made my work so difficult. I mean, you gave my office real hell.
Yeah.
And, I used to call you and you used to, tell me, don't worry, I'm doing my work.
That's right.
But you've been very lenient with the Buhari administration.
It's actually not true.
No, I mean, I read the Sahara reporters, and I was wondering whether the leniency is because you are running for president.
No, so maybe you could say that since I started running for president, which meant that I didn't participate in Saharas I used to, it could have, people will have different opinion because, like I said, it's just like you think of the party, say, Sowore is there, like I'm the moving target. And people, the moment I said I'm running for office, a lot of people also take their eyes off the ball. And that generally, our step could affect how they view the site, the content of the sites, because there are people who used to be in government who talk to me directly, who don't want to talk to the other people because they don't know them. Or maybe they want to talk to me and they can't find me, the way we used to get information. But being lenient on the government is not correct. I think we've been so hard on this government that at a point, we've been labeled everything by this government, including, unlike yourself, you talk to me, and I have to say this online, regardless of what I wrote, I could reach you. You would respond. But with the current media managers of this president, they have no tolerance for people like me. I don't think it took more than 2 months before Femi Adesina stopped talking to me. It's like, you are a lost case. We don't have there's no way to talk to you, to make you understand how government operates, And I know how government operates. Segun Adeniyi was also really nice during his time. And I think I made even his own job more hell than yours because, yes, because he was dealing with Yaradua at that time. And Yaradua, they had a lot more to cover up under Yaradua because he was sick and they wanted to present him as someone who was healthy than your own time. But this same government has had more health than you can even imagine. Don't forget that we broke a lot of stories under this government, including, what's happening with Boko Haram, what's happening with military generals who were buying houses in Dubai, they back-ended, illegal hiring at the central bank. I can't tell you how many stories we've done under this government, including even the health of the president, how, they try to cover it up. We were the ones who broke the story that he would spend 4 months abroad, whereas they lied about it for so long until it became clear that they had to take the president away for so long. So there's been so many stories broken under this government, including, what they did with MTN fines, all the stories. So we've been very hard on them. But the hardest thing to do to them is to take them out completely next year.
You've been in online journalism for about 12 years, and you've been very critical of the local Nigerian media.
Yes.
Now going around, interacting with the media and using the local platform at home and seeing, interacting at closer quarters. Has your opinion about the local media changed?
No, the question is, is to ask if their opinion about me has changed, and I think it hasn't. I think they got to a point where they saw me as an enemy. Because, they just felt like, one, they thought that I came as a great crasher into the media world. And secondly, there were a lot of people they didn't like to touch that I was touching. And sometimes when I would do breaking stories or write investigative reports, the first people to come in would be journalists. And I'll be wondering, so if you had this story, would you not do it? So discovered a lot of journalists were working on behalf of people in government. And today, I think they are taking it out on me. They don't like reporting on my activities a lot. So I'm doing it all over again, reporting myself.
Well, but they did the same thing to Dele Momodu when he ran in, was it 2003 or so?
Well, I don't think, to be fair to Dele Momodu and to be fair to, our different campaigns, Dele didn't run the way we're running now. Like, I followed him during that period too. And I remember
the point I'm making is that he too complained that, his biggest critics and enemies were his own colleagues, journalists, who didn't want to report him.
I think the issue that I found out to be unpalatable about media in Nigeria is that there's a whole lot of monetization of media. So if you are not willing to give, they will tell you outright, if you don't have money to give us, you are not getting your case, you are not getting your issue reported. I remember in Abuja, I had a number of journalists with us who came to cover the opening of the party. After they finished, they didn't leave. And I had to go to them. Why are you still hanging around? They said, well, you have to give us money if you want this.
No, they were waiting for the communique.
Yeah, not communique. They were waiting.
No, that's what it is called. It's not called communique. Okay. It's called communique.
Oh, okay. So I was shocked. I went to them and said, they said, you have to make some provision for us to get this thing reported tomorrow if you want to see it. And some of them were even, reporters of international media houses. I was shocked. And I told them I have nothing to give them. And some of them reported, some of them got angry and said, look, one of them threw my, my paper back at me. They said, look, forget about this, your presidential aspirant, if you don't have communique.
Well, it's been a great pleasure having you here. I wish you success in your political ambition.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I hope to see you as president soon.